ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 12. Dhruva Mahārāja goes back to Godhead. So we are in the section where Dhruva Mahārāja is boarding the aeroplane, placing his feet on the head of the death. Dhruva Mahārāja attained the molten, shining golden body, which is spiritual in complexion, and now he is moving on. And he remembers his mother when he is boarding the plane. Text 33. इति व्यवसितं तस्य व्यवसाय सुरोत्तमौ दर्शयामासितुं देवीं पुनः यानेन गच्छतिम्. Translation.
The great associates of Vaikuntha Nanda and Sunanda, could understand the mind of Dhruva Maharaj, and thus they showed him that his mother, Suniti, was going forward in another plane. Purport. This incident proves that the Shiksha or Diksha Guru, who has a disciple who strongly executes devotional service like Dhruva Maharaj, can be carried by the disciple even though the instructor is not as advanced. Although Suniti was an instructor to Dhruva Maharaj, she could not go to the forest because she was a woman, nor could she execute austerities and penances as Dhruva Maharaj did. Still, Dhruva Maharaj was able to take his mother with him. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj also delivered his atheistic father, Hiranyakashipu. The conclusion is that a disciple or an offspring who is a very strong devotee can carry with him to Vaikuntha Loka either his father, mother, or Shiksha or Diksha Guru. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say, if I could perfectly deliver even one soul back home, back to Godhead, I would think my mission propagating Kṛṣṇa consciousness to be successful. The Kṛṣṇa consciousness movement is spreading now all over the world. And sometimes I think that even though I am cripped in many years, if one of my disciples becomes as strong as Dhruva Maharaj, then he will be able to carry with me to Vaikuntha Loka. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So when Dhruva was concerned about his mother, Surottama, his great associates of Vaikuntha Loka, Nanda and Sunanda, he showed him another aeroplane. They showed him that his mother Suniti was going forward in another aeroplane. Darshayam Asatur Devi. So Devi here is Suniti, where she is going ahead. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that this incident proves Diksha or Shiksha Guru who has a disciple who strongly execute devotional service can carry forward anyone and everyone along with him. So here in this case of mother, Suniti was a simple lady, strongly devoted to the Supreme Lord, but she was not something like who was doing some tremendous austerity as Dhruva did. But but Suniti got the same results as the results of Dhruva Maharaj. Right. This is the case with Dhruva Mahārāja's mother. Same is the case with Prahlad Mahārāja's father. Prahlad's father was Hiranyakashipu, who was into everything else. And when Prahlad became a great devotee, even his father also enjoyed the results of his devotional service, that is, attaining complete liberation. And therefore, Prabhupada writes here, sometimes I think, of course, that is a great humility of Srila Prabhupada, that Prabhupada says, sometimes I think that even one of my devotee becomes as strong as Dhruva Maharaj, he will be able to take me back to Vaikuntha Loka. Okay, so this is purely the humility of Srila Prabhupada. But the point here is that devotional service is not just limited to the personality. The positive effects of devotional service all across, right? And therefore, one should keep on preaching. One may not be very advanced, but one should keep on preaching. If we become instrumental in somebody else becoming a great devotee, we also receive the benefits of that. It is like in financial services, there is something called the trail commission. So this is the commission you get. Dasturi loi boami purnaha bekam. This is how Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. I will get my commission. What is my commission? Commission is advancement in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. That is called as dasturi. Dastur, So, and that is our spiritual commission, that we become instrumental in somebody else's advancement. We also receive some glimpse of that advancement. And here in this case, Suniti is going back home, back to Godhead, even before Dhruva Maharaj. Right. Text 34. Tatra tatra prasham sandhi pathivaimanikaiः suraiः avakīryamāno dadrushe kusumai kramasho grahan.
Translation. While Dhruva Maharaj was passing through space, he gradually saw all the planets of the solar system, and on the path he saw all the demigods in their airplane showering flowers upon him like rain. Purport. There is a Vedic version, Yasmin Vijyante Sarva Evam Vijyanatam Bhavati, which means that by knowing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything becomes known to the devotee. Similarly, by going to the planet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can know all the other planetary systems on the path to Vaikuntha. We should remember that Dhruva Maharaj's body was different from our bodies. While boarding the Vaikuntha airplane, his body changed to a completely spiritual golden hue. No one can surpass the higher planets in a material body, but when one gets a spiritual body, he can travel not only to the higher planetary system of this material world, but even to the still higher planetary system known as Vaikuntha Loka. It is well known that Narada Muni travels everywhere, both in the spiritual and material worlds. It should be noted also that while Suniti was going to Vaikuntha Loka, she also changed her body into a spiritual form. Like Sri Suniti, every mother should train her child to become a devotee like Dhruva Maharaj. Suniti instructed her son, even at the age of 5 years, to be unattached to worldly affairs and to go to the forest to search out the Supreme Lord. She never desired that her son remain at home comfortably without ever undertaking austerities and penances to achieve the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Every mother like Suniti must take care of her son and train him to become a brahmachari from the age of 5 years and to undergo austerities and penances for spiritual realization. The benefit will be that if her son becomes a strong devotee like Dhruva, certainly not only will he be transferred back home, back to Godhead, but she will also be transferred with him to the spiritual world, even though she may be unable to undergo austerities and penances in executing devotional service. Hare Krishna.
Tatra tatra prashamsati. So, pathi vaimanikaihi suraihi. Pathi on the way, Dhruva Maharaj was passing on the space. He gradually saw all the planets of the solar system, right? And then he saw all the demigods showering flowers on him and prashansati, doing prashansa of great personality, Dhruva Maharaj. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, Yasmin vidnyate sarvam evam vidnyatum bhavati. When one knows the Supreme Lord, he knows everything else. Eventually, he will know everything else, right? Just by knowing the Supreme, now he is come to know entire universe. He is passing through all the universal planetary systems, and not only he is being welcomed there, he is being showered flowers by the various demigods on the way. His body is already changed to the golden hue. that is the spiritual golden hue. And this is how one is passing from. So we have the material world, and beyond the material world, there is a Vaitarana, and then there is a spiritual world. And it is not very easy to pass on, right? Naivo dvije paraduratyaya Vaitaranyas. It is very difficult to, this is called as a Bhavasagar. But as soon as one becomes devotee, then it is becomes Mayami Tam Tarantite, very easy to cross over. Is there any example? Srila Prabhupada says, yes, there is an example of Narada Muni, who keeps on going from material world to spiritual world. Just like one moves from one room to another, Narada Muni, he goes to Vaikuntha, comes back to material world, preaching here, taking some souls, delivering them back home. And this is the way, this is the example that he travels everywhere, both in the spiritual and the material worlds. Suniti also changed her body to the spiritual form, and Prabhupada says every mother should be like Suniti, training children to advance in Krishna consciousness. So that mother should appreciate if the child is, mother should facilitate and then appreciate when the child is taking some interest in spiritual life, and should train the child. Prabhupada writes here, then not only the child, even the mother herself will be greatly benefited, just like Suniti receiving the benefit by right instructions to Dhruva Mahārāja. She also will be transferred to the spiritual world. And thus, even though without undergoing personally the severe austerities and penances in executing devotional service. So this is important thing that So one should be spreading the message around, and one should be sowing the seeds. You don't know which seed will fructify to what tree, and what kind of results that one will receive. And what to speak of making one's own children, one's own relatives into devotees. Text 35. Trilokim devayanena sotivrajya muninapi parastat yat dhruvagatihi Viṣṇopadam athabhyagat. Translation.
Dhruva Mahārāja thus surpassed the 7 planetary systems of the great sages who are known as Saptarshi. Beyond that region, he achieved the transcendental situation of permanent life in the planet where Lord Vishnu lives. Purport: the airplane was piloted by the 2 chief associates of Lord Vishnu, namely Sunanda and Nanda. Only such spiritual astronauts can pilot their airplane beyond the 7 planets and arrive in the region of eternal blissful life. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita also, Parastasmastu bhavonya, that beyond this planetary system begins the spiritual sky where everything is permanent and blissful. The planets are known as Vishnu Loka or Vaikuntha Loka. Only there can one get an eternal blissful life of knowledge. Beyond Vaikuntha Loka is the material universe where Lord Brahma and other Brahma Loka can live until the annihilation of this universe. But that life is not permanent. That is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Abrahma Bhuvana Loka. Even if one goes to the topmost planet, one cannot achieve eternal life. Only by arriving in Vaikuntha Loka can one live an eternally blissful life. Hare Krishna.
So Dhruva Mahārāja surpassed the 7 planetary systems known as Saptarshi. So where we see the pole star, Dhruva star, is when we'll see the Saptarshi, and there one will see the pole star. Although see the when we when we observe the sky, it may appear that 7 dots together, but it's one has to understand it's a 3D phenomena. They are at different places. So and crores of miles away from each other, a few light years away from each other and everything else. So this is where we obtain Dhruva star. So he passed through the Saptarshi, and beyond this region, Dhruva attained the transcendental. Then there is the Dhruva Loka, which is present there. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the airplane which was piloted by the two chief associates, Nanda and Sunanda, only such spiritual astronauts can pilot their airplane beyond the 7 planets and arrive at the region of transcendental blissful life. Recently, Sunita Williams and one more, they went up, they went to ISS, International Space Station, and some mistake, and they had to be stuck there for almost like 9 months. They were stuck in ISS because there was no return flight available. And then Elon Musk had to send his Starlink and some few other things, and they could come back after 9-10 months. They could come back. So there is a limitation where the material astronauts can go. Material astronauts cannot go in the transcendental region, which is beyond the Saptarshi. Right. For that one needs Vimana, Divya Vimana, where it is Devayanena. Devayanena means the transcendental aeroplane. And you need Vaimanika also. Vaimanika Isuraihi. Vaimanika Isurai means the great personalities, Nanda Sunanda Vaimanik you need to navigate the aeroplane beyond that region and reaching the transcendental region. This is not possible. So that is the region where Prabhupada says one has the eternal blissful life of knowledge. In the material world, entire material world is filled with Abrahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartino Arjuna. That is not possible to attain in the material world. Text 36. Yadbrajamanam swaruchaiva sarvato lokastrayo hyanu vibrajanta ete etanna vajran jantushu yenu graha vrajanti bhadrani charanti yenisham. Translation.
The self-effulgent Vaikuntha planets, by whose illumination alone all the illuminating planets within this material world give off reflected light, cannot be reached by those who are not merciful to other living entities. Only persons who constantly engage in the welfare activities for other living entities can reach the Vaikuntha planets. Purport. Here is a description of two aspects of the Vaikuntha planets. The first is that in the Vaikuntha planet, Vaikuntha sky, there is no need of the sun and moon. This is confirmed by the Upanishads as well as Bhagavad Gita. Na tad bhasayate suryo na shashanko na pavakaha. In the spiritual world, the Vaikuntha lokas are themselves illuminated. There is therefore no need of sun, moon, or electric light. It is, in fact, the illumination of the Vaikuntha lokas which is reflected in the material sky. Only by this reflection are the suns in the material universes illuminated. After the illumination of the sun, all the stars and moons are illuminated. In other words, all the luminaries in the material sky borrow illumination from Vaikuntha loka. From this material world, however, people can be transferred to the Vaikuntha loka if they incessantly engage in the welfare activities for all other living entities. Such incessant welfare activities can really be performed only in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. There is no philanthropic work within this material world, but Kṛṣṇa consciousness that can engage a person 24 hours a day. A Kṛṣṇa conscious being is always engaged in planning how to take all of suffering humanity back home, back to Godhead. Even if one is not successful in reclaiming all the fallen souls back to Godhead, still, because he is in Kṛṣṇa conscious, his path to Vaikuntha Loka is open. He personally becomes qualified to enter the Vaikuntha Lokas, and if anyone follows such a devotee, he also enters into Vaikuntha Loka. Others who engage in envious activities are known as karmis. Karmis are envious of one another simply for sense gratification. They can kill thousands of innocent animals. Gyanis are not as sinful as karmis, but they do not try to reclaim others back to Godhead. They perform austerities for their own liberation. Yogis are also engaged in self-aggrandizement by trying to attain mystic powers. But devotees, Vaishnavas, who are servants of the Lord come forward in the actual field of work in Krishna consciousness to reclaim fallen souls. Only Krishna conscious persons are eligible to enter into the spiritual world. That is clearly stated in this verse and is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, wherein the Lord says that there is no one dearer to him than those who preach the gospel of Bhagavad Gita to the world.
Yeah. So now who can attain Vaikuntha? The self-effulgent Vaikuntha planet can be attained by those who can attain Vaikuntha, who cannot be reached by those who are not merciful to other living entities. Only the persons who constantly engage in the welfare activities for other living entities can reach these Vaikuntha planets. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that there are two aspects here being explained. First is Vaikunthas are self-effulgent. Na tad bhasayate suryo, na shashanko, na pavakaha. Yad gatvan nivartante tad dhamu paramam. This is Bhagavad Gita 15.6. So, and there purport Prabhupada says one should be excited to know such information that such planets exist. So they are self-effulgent, and in fact all the material effulgence that the material planets get, they are received from the spiritual effulgence from the Vaikuntha Loka. So just like there is a Prabha which is coming from the body of the Supreme Lord, Yasya Prabha, Prabhavato. Similarly, the Vaikuntha planets also, they are self-illuminating. That is one thing. Second is, to reach there, one should be incessantly engaged in the welfare activities for all other living entities. Now, there are two types of welfare activities. One is a material welfare activity, and another is spiritual welfare activity. When one does material welfare activity, what happens is one receives punya. And this punya, then urdhvam gacchanti satvastha, madhya tishtanti rajasa. So by the accumulation of punya, one can attain the higher planetary system, Svargalokam. Right? Tetam bhuktva Svargalokam vishalam. One can have a great enjoyment. And it is like you work very hard in the company gives you some leave travel concession, you go to Switzerland for 10-15 days, and again you come back. So the material punya cannot take one back home to the spiritual world. For there, one needs a spiritual sukruti. And that spiritual sukruti is possible by explaining the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam to masses. So one has to do spiritual philanthropic activity. Of course, it is good if one can do both. Spiritualize the material philanthropy, just like instead of distributing food, annadan, we distribute prasad. So then that nourishes the body and the soul, and also distribute the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and create the spiritual awareness amongst the people. That is the spiritual philanthropic activity. And thus, Prabhupada says, if one cannot do this alone, then one can help those who are doing it. Like in our case, we know that Srila Prabhupada is doing this. And the many sannyasis of Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada's disciples, and the great devotees, they are doing this. If we can be helpful to them, what happens is that we will also attain the same result as attained by these great personalities. Karmis, they are envious, and their philosophy is very simple. Work hard, party harder. And therefore they will be breaking the regulative principles and killing thousands of animals. Gyanis are not as sinful, but the problem with the Gyanis is that they are not interested in others. They are just interested in their own emancipation, and they are like cut off from the world. But it is a devotee who takes interest in the world, Vaiṣṇavas, and thus he comes forward the actual field of work in Krishna consciousness to reclaim the fallen souls. And therefore, such a personality becomes very dear to the Supreme Lord. Nacha tasmat manusheshu kaschinme priyakrittamaha. That there is nobody who is more dear to the Supreme than the one who spreads the message of Krishna consciousness or assists those who are spreading the message of Krishna consciousness. Safely we can assume that we can assist those who are spreading the message. Right? That is a very safe position. And such personalities are called as Bhuridajana. Bhuridajana means greatly, they are the great benevolent personalities who are spreading the knowledge of the Supreme Lord. Text 37. Shanta samadrisha shuddha sarvabhuta anuranjana yantinjasa achyutapadam achyutapriyabandhavah. Translation.
Persons who are peaceful, equipoised, cleansed, and purified, and who know the art of pleasing all other living entities, keep friendship only with the devotees of the Lord. They alone can verify, easily achieve the perfection of going back home, back to Godhead. Purport. The description of this verse fully indicates that only devotees are eligible to enter into the kingdom of Godhead. The first point stated is that the devotees are peaceful, but they have no demands for their personal sense gratification. They are simply dedicated to the service of the Lord. Karmis cannot be peaceful because they have immense demands for sense gratification. As for Gnanis, they cannot be peaceful because they are too busy trying to attain liberation or merge into the existence of the Supreme. Similarly, yogis are also restless to get mystic power. But a devotee is peaceful because he is fully surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thinks of himself as completely helpless. Just as a child feels complete peace in depending on the parent. So, a devotee is completely peaceful for he depends on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A devotee is equipoised. He sees everyone on the same transcendental platform. A devotee knows that although a conditioned soul has a particular type of a body, according to his past fruitive activities, factually everyone is part of the Supreme Lord. A devotee sees all living entities with spiritual vision and does not discriminate on the platform of bodily concept of life.
Yeah,
Such
long
qualities.
purport. We will break into two. Now, previous verse talks about description of Vaikuntha. It is self-effulgent and attained by those. Now, these are the qualities. So, previous verse is about description of Vaikuntha. Now, this verse is about description of Vaiṣṇava. See how beautifully Bhagavatam is flowing. If we can enter the mind of Bhagavatam, know that why one verse is coming after another. This is the beautiful flow. After a description of Vaikuntha, who attains the Vaikuntha? And these are the further qualities of those who are attaining the Vaikuntha. Shanta, Samadrusha, Shuddha, Sarva Bhutanu Ranjana. Very compassionate to all living entities. Sarva Bhutanu Ranjana. Right? Persons who are peaceful, equipoised, cleansed, and purified, who know the art of pleasing all living entities. Sarva Bhutanu Ranjana. Right? Bhuta means living entities. Keep friendship only with the devotees. They alone can very easily achieve the perfection of going back home, back to Godhead. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains the word Shantaha. Shantaha means, Prabhupada says, this verse gives the full indication of the only devotees can attain the Supreme Lord. It is not Karmis, Jnanis or the Yogis, they can attain the Supreme Lord in the Vaikuntha. First point is that they are peaceful. Shantaha. Right. They have no demands for personal sense gratification. Again, this has to be taken correctly. That doesn't mean that they are less ambitious or they are like stone like. No, this has to be taken age appropriate as well. They can be very ambitious personalities. They will be very resourceful personalities, and and still they are striving for more while always being satisfied with whatever they have. This is the best platform to have. They are dedicated to the service of the Supreme Lord. Karmis cannot be peaceful. It's very difficult for Karmi to be peaceful because they have the immense demand for sense gratification. Right. So it is explained there that the Karmis they will have such, and more the demands we have, more we will be disturbed. Apuryamanam achala pratishtam samudramapaha pravishanti yadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve sa shantimapnoti na kama kami. Na kama kami. Therefore, so this is the verse. Apuryamanam achala pratishtam. He tolerates the desires. Karmi cannot tolerate the desire, and therefore they will be constantly, on move, constantly wanting, lamenting, achieving. You know, you go to this conference, you feel, "Arey, I would have done this." मैं कहाँ का कहाँ पहुँच जाता, कहाँ से कहाँ पहुँच जाता. People just pick up one aspect of somebody's life. People want to have a husband like him or wife like he has, a job like he or she has, a body like he or she has, and children like he or she has, house like he or she has. and without knowing that, that everybody has its own quota of material suffering. I mean, not everybody. I mean, such a sad thing, not want to quote. Recently, one very great billionaire means, I mean, something like 3 lakh crore is the wealth. Suddenly, his son passed away at the age of 49, right? The only son, he has a son and daughter, the son passed away. And he says that, I mean, what kind of misery that he is feeling, only he knows. Age 70, 75, and son is, at the age of 49. So, karmis, they have unlimited demands. These are the karmis. Then Gyanis also have their own demands. Gyanis also cannot be peaceful. One thing is they are constantly after knowledge, and knowledge is such that more you have, more you want to have, if it is not applied in spiritual life. Right. A devotee can be simply happy just reading Bhagavad Gita, applying those basic principles, spreading those basic principles. He can go back home, back to Godhead, along with other million people he can take. But a Jnani, if we operate on a Jnani platform, then there is often a chance that, Jnana may cover over our devotional service. Similarly, yogis are also restless to have the yogic power. They want to see that this Baba has gone ahead of me. This Baba can walk on the water. I cannot walk on the water. So they have something to attain. And when they attain something, they have a huge fellowship. The cheap adoration, people will say. And therefore, only it is Krishna Bhakta. Siddhi, Mukti, Bhukti, Siddhi, Kami, Sakale Ashanta. Krishna Bhakta Nishkama, Ateva Shanta. It is only a devotee who can be really peaceful, Shantaha, right? So Prabhupada talks the word about Shantaha here. So, and the example here is just like the child feels peace when he's depending on the parents. Anytime you have seen that, sometimes we take a child, small child, and we throw him in the air and then again catch. And when the child is in the air, the child is smiling, watching around, and again. Actually, when the child is in the air, he is in the most precarious condition. But he has full faith in the parents who will catch them, hold them back. And this is how a devotee has a faith in the Supreme Lord. Right? And because he has a faith in the Supreme Lord, in the most trying situations, devotee is always peaceful. Later we'll come to the story of Vritrasur. What a peace and what a situation he was in. So one can see what quality of a devotee we are by seeing how we react to tribulations in our life. If it is always panicked, always always like that, then we have a long way to go, including myself. But one can see that how we had, and that's why Srila Prabhupada writes that, right? That ability to tolerate. A greatness of a man has to be estimated by his ability to tolerate provoking situations. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki
Jai.
jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you,
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I had a
Thank you,
question.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
அச்சா என்ன பண்ற பின்ன வேற கார்பேஜ் பேக் அச்சா இருக்கட்டும் நான் இதை பூச்சி போட்டுட்டு அப்புறம்
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you,
வேற
Prabhuji. Hare
கார்பேஜ் பேக்
Krishna. Dandavat pranam.
ம் ம் ம்
Somebody wants to ask question.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Vara, somebody want to ask
Yes,
question
Prabhuji.
actually.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Vaibhav
Yes,
Prabhu.
Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Hmm.
Prabhuji, actually, I just wanted to know, like you talked about the desires like a person have, but sometimes, other people have desires to be fulfilled from us. So in that case, sometimes we are not able to do justice to that. Then how should we take that? Is that a karma, or like how should we see that? Sometimes we are not able to fulfill other people's,
For example,
like parents may have desire from their children, or like he should do this, he should do that, and they're not able to fulfill them. So they are upset, and because of them, because we love them, we are upset ki, we are not able to do justice to them.
So it is very case specific. Like in my case also, my very close friend, Sachin Kulkarni, and he did his MBA, he went abroad, and very close friend. I mean, years we were together. Still we are together whenever I go to my native place. And my father used to always tell, see where he is. He's in, Netherlands. And not only he's in Netherlands, sometimes he takes his parents also to the Netherlands. I mean, that is all. That will be always there. We cannot fulfill all the desires of everybody. But at the same time, if we have basic pleasing relations with people, then those things will not come so much. You are getting basic pleasing
Yes.
relations we should have. So that is the art of, I mean, that is so Krishna consciousness is science. It's the science of devotional service, and it is also art that one has to very skillfully navigate through the life without picking up some eternal enmity with somebody, without dissatisfying some people. So one has to do that very skillfully. One has to do that, and eventually we do it. Eventually we will come to know, right?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. Got the idea.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhuji.